And we're back here with the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series, Montreal, as we get into the heat of our third group stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the World Championship Series. I'm Nathanius, joined on the desk by Rotterdam and Zombie Grub, two esteemed StarCraft 2 personalities with lots of skill. And of course, just like the rest of us, great dashing looks. We've got plenty of StarCraft action left here for you, as we'll be going through the entirety of the playoffs tomorrow, and then our semis and grand finals on Sunday. Watch the best players duke it out to fight who will get to the global playoffs. Zombie Grub, we've had some great TVZs so far. We've got more coming up. How do you feel about that?
It's the best matchup, Nate.
Oh.
Yes.
Is it though?
Isn't it though?
Poor Roddy.
Isn't it though?
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful matchup. Of course it is. You got action nonstop. You got beautiful stories. You got lings and banelings and little cuddly banelings. It's perfect, all right? You know, forget about it. But the matchup that we're having with Kelazhur, I mean, he's a fun player, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's fun to play style, and he is the representative of Brazil, who has a very large following, so it's always hype to cheer for him.
Yeah, and the Terran's been actually doing pretty well in the TVZs that we've seen up here so far. Roddy, have you been enjoying the matches? What's up with the Protoss players? Do you have some updates from Protoss that haven't been on stream for everyone?
Yes, perhaps a little update out of Group E. I've been hyping up Elaser a lot as really a man to look out for this weekend. I thought that Elaser could potentially go very far and absolutely would secure his ticket to the global finals. Now, he's not out, but he didn't win Group E. It was DNS, and that's really awesome to see, because DNS is that hit or miss type of Protoss player. One day, absolutely amazing. Next day, you're looking at it, you're like, okay, this really looks like not much, and then I'm being very polite, but what an awesome performance by DNS, just bulldozing his way through all three groups and now winning Group E, a group that had Zenster, Probe, and Elaser. Well done by that Frenchman. The Frenchman, man, Shadone is winning his group.
Yeah.
Obviously, Clem is still alive as well. They're doing really good, Nate.
Yeah, it's a really interesting results we've been seeing here so far, especially we were talking about stuff like that Semper victory over Neeb. Interested to see how those shape up. Our next matchup is, as we said, a Terran versus Zerg. It's Kelazhur up against Lambo. And Lambo had a pretty good run in WCS Challenger recently, made it all the way to the finals, actually took those first two maps against Cyril. So he has a little, I'd say a little bit of momentum coming in behind him. People definitely, you've seen him come up as a contender. We were in the studio like, oh my God, this guy's up 2-0 against Cyril. How is this even possible?
Yeah, he's very good. I think that this is the time for him to, like, as you're like, yeah, Challenger went really well for him, so you continue forward, right? But he did have this weird, like, flop at Valencia.
Yeah.
It was just, it was a huge surprise. He got knocked out by, actually, I forget the first
Shadone,
person.
I think, right?
No, it was a Terran that you might expect, but then it was the Muslim. Who was the other guy that knocked him? Yeah, maybe Euthermal, yeah,
yes.
exactly. And then the Muslim. So, I mean, I don't want to, harp on that a little, like, too much. But, I mean, the Muslim, I think, he's
quite the charmer. You got to be careful around him.
Hey, you're not just talking about a Terran player there. You're talking about a legend.
I'm talking about a legend.
Yeah,
I mean, it's weird, though, because I was going to say that he, I think people would agree that he's worse than Kelazhur, but Kelazhur is also kind of like part-time, right? So it's, I mean, I want to say that maybe his versus Terran could be his weak point, but I actually think that was just a weird event.
This is a series that normally you would say Lambo in his current shape is supposed to take. If this happened a year ago, everybody would have said Kelazhur in a heartbeat. Of course, this man made it to the global finals last year, but this year he has not been as good as he was last year. No. And now officially he's moved to one of the greatest countries on earth, I would say, actually. I think he recently moved to the Netherlands. Beautiful place, so that's where he's living right now. He's starting his studies. Of course, he loves StarCraft. He will always play StarCraft.
Always.
But this is not the diehard Kelazhur of 2017, so I'm leaning towards Lambo a little more here.
I wonder if the part-time practice on Europe server actually benefits him compared to full-time on NA, Roddy.
It's very possible. I mean, it's a good server. And I mean, I think that the European server embraces him. It's like, oh my goodness, we've got another Terran in GM. Terran. It's like, that makes it at least 6 Terrans in GM right now. That's great, So, no, it's awesome to see, but I'm leaning towards Lambo here.
Not until we get those, potentially those pew-pew cruisers that can keep moving.
But damn, what an amount of crazy upsets, in my opinion. This is really upset city so far today. I look at the people that are winning these groups, like Group C.
Yeah.
Cyan or Semper is going to advance into the bracket phase, while that group also had Mana and Neep. Like, I have no idea what I'm watching. Has also taking out Clem. Some people might say like, that's not that big of a surprise. To me, that is a big surprise.
Yep.
DNS winning his group. Shadone winning his group. This is nuts, Nate. I really did not expect these results at all, and that makes it freaking cool if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely not the setup for Group Stage 3 as we get to those final stages that we were expecting. We're going to be bringing the players out onto the stage soon. Do either of you have a player here that maybe not you necessarily think they'll win, but did you enjoy watching them play more, someone that you're more of a fan of between Lambo and Kelazhur?
Lambo, actually. So Kelazhur being a Terran, hype GSO versus the world last year, like, yeah, everyone loves watching him, as I said, just like the introduction to the desk. But Lambo is a very good streamer, actually. We started streaming a lot with a lot of commentary. So anything I know about ZvZ now is thanks to him. So
Nice.
I think that actually he, if people watch a stream, I think they'll agree with me. If not, you guys should. But he is now one of my favorite Zergs to get very far in the tournament.
Nice.
Lambo's just a cool dude overall because he's also not one of those pro gamers that goes in the tournament and says like, I hope I can do my best and show good games. Like, no, he comes in there and says, I should make at least top 4 here. And then a bunch of heads will turn like, you top 4? And he's like, yeah, at least, like, if I won't win the entire thing. And he's like, he was really, really fired up after Valencia. This was not a guy that was sitting in a corner and was down. No, like I had a speech with him. I'm not going to repeat everything he said, but TLDR is, I'm going to come back and I'm going to be so much better and I'm still going to do great things this year. I promise you, I believe it. I was like, I'm not doubting you over here. He's like, no, I promise you. And he was very, very direct and fierce, but I love that kind of passion. I'm expecting a good Lambo here, and once again, in this series, in my opinion, this is a perfect opportunity for Lambo. This is not a Cero, this is not Neep in top shape, or a Scarlet who's very dangerous as ZvZ. No, this is, with all due respect, a Kelazhur that's playing less than last year. This should be Lambo's series.
Yeah, and I find it interesting as we've seen a lot of Terran success on the main stage so far today. This is also one of the first tournaments where these guys are all playing on the new map pool. Even Challenger was played on last season's map pool. Do we feel that that's had much of an impact on the games that we've seen so far today, or have any of the maps really stood out to you?
Okay,
or has it been business as usual?
Since both of you guys play Terran, I just want to throw this out. Why am I seeing Parasite in every single TVZ?
So I feel like here might have proven why you see it. Because initially, I actually think the stats are still favored towards Zerg, but it's a very low count of
I like
games,
it.
right? I mean, I haven't played too much on it, but I mean, here Marine, sure, he was playing against True and he played mech, and not everyone plays mech too, but there are some really abusive tank spots that he got to show.
I mean, I know why you like it, Nate, because it takes a while for your opponent to attack you, and it suits your
and you
style.
can get Liberator range. There's some spots to hide your battle cruisers when you fly them across the map.
No, I'm surprised that I see this map just in every single series. If I was a Terran player, I would really prefer maps like Cerulean Fall or Blue Shift.
No, I don't know. Okay. I would disagree completely
No, not
there.
against Zerg. I think...
I'm not crazy about Cerulean Falls versus Zerg at all.
Well, yeah, I don't know about that.
Well,
but,
Fracture, I mean...
Fracture
is great. I
Yeah.
love Fracture.
Fracture, yes.
But I mean, I see it in every single... I don't know. I'm surprised by it. But
Maybe it's because at like the highest level, they haven't played as much on these maps, and it's a bigger map, so you just feel safer. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
I do like Parasite. There are some weird things about getting like your 4th or your 5th base, depending on which way you go out.
how's it for the missile turrets? Is it good?
It's great. It's great for missile turrets, man. You can't get too far around the outside. You know what I'm saying?
How many bases does one sensor tower cover, Nate?
On that map, not a lot, actually.
Yeah,
no, you got to put one on almost all of them.
Okay, well...
Very
Yeah,
useful
well,
for that.
But that's not something you're a stranger of.
No. Hey, I would just like to say that Terran players around the world have been building more and more sensor towers lately. Okay?
You've been
Even
onto
in
something,
GSL, I'm just saying,
Yeah?
sensor towers, people are realizing
No,
they're great.
Were you that guy that was like, if only make a sensor tower against blink all ins and TY did
No, I
it?
was not that guy. I hated that guy. I wasn't converted yet. That guy's the original sensor tower guy.
Gotcha.
Wherever you are in the world, original sensor tower guy, everybody's doing what you predicted.
I can give
5
you
years ago.
a quick update as well of the lower bracket match in this group. That is also a TVZ that I'm currently watching. It's on Parasite. It's Namchar versus Time. It's a macro-oriented game up to this point. I wouldn't say that either player has a massive lead. I mean, there was both macroing up. I am a little bit surprised to see Namchar in the lower bracket match. I mean, that's a Zerg play that recently went 7k MMR on the European server. And I'm not talking about 6 months ago when he also did it, but just like a week or 2 ago, I was watching his stream. If you talk about great Zerg streams, Lambo, I totally agree with you. Namchar also has a very fun stream. And, when those guys play ladder, they don't play like strangers or nobodies, right? It's just top guys against top guys. So it's really fun to watch his stream. Tiny bit surprised to see him in the lower bracket match, but obviously not down and out yet.
It's weird. This tournament, we have a lot of our experienced veterans who the initial storyline is going to be how consistent they are. they're kind of all out, right?
Yeah.
Like Snoot, Nurchio,
Lie.
exactly,
Yeah.
Lie. Like, and now it seems to be those guys that we would say, well, they don't have experience offline. They seem to do worse offline than online. Those are the guys that are getting first in their groups.
Very
Oh.
interesting results here so
I've got
far.
a very important update real quick, because this was the one group that I was refreshing this page for over and over again.
Okay, real quick.
Group B, Raynor won his group again. He knocked down Special to the lower bracket match, so that means Special versus Showtime rematch, deciding series Group B, but awesome Raynor.
Awesome. You know what else is awesome? We're going to bring our players out onto the main stage. Smix, I heard you love Terran versus Zerg.
I do love Terran versus Zerg, so Zombie Girl, if you're listening, I totally agree with you. But I'm excited to round out this amazing day of StarCraft 2 with an amazing match coming up next. So please give a warm welcome to Kelazhur and Lambo.
More and more Terran versus Zerg. I cannot get enough of it. Kelazhur coming over here. One of our prominent Latin American StarCraft players recently joined Panda Global as his team. And of course, Lambo, a guy who, as you were saying, Kev, not very shy. No, he's a confident guy. He's a rabble-rouser, a scoundrel, if you will.
Oh my goodness, I just have a huge smile on my face when I think of all the things that he said to me. You know, he was incredibly pissed off as well after Valencia, because someone said that he beats him all the time. And he's like, all the time? He beat me twice, 2 freaking maps. And now he says he beats me all the time. He's someone who gets so fired up over all of it. And he really
Say it to my face.
Yeah, and he has a lot of confidence in himself, but I think that's important. StarCraft 2, we all know it, it's such a mental game. Like, sure, you have to practice a lot, and you have to have good strategies, and you have to be on point, but it's also the belief in yourself that truly pushes yourself to go far in those tournaments, and that part, Lambo absolutely has covered.
Yeah, very important. Kelazhur, I guess the last thing I would say is if he's going a bit more towards that part-time, does that take some of the pressure off here in this competition?
That is always the conundrum. I'm going to be Fear Dragon for a second, because he always says this about the NA players, so many of them. But sometimes, yes, sometimes the less pressure that there is, like Masa is, I think, his go-to guy for that, then the better they perform and they expect not to do very well. Sure, there's less pressure. But I'm not sure Kelazhur actually was ever that guy. In fact, at GSO vs. the World 2017, it was the high-stress situation that seemed to actually do him well. So I don't know if it'll be any different because he's part-time. But I do think that Lambo is on too much of a hot streak right now for Kelazhur to do much about it.
I think maybe going into this tournament, he didn't feel much pressure and probably wasn't that nervous. But if you're in the deciding series, or at least you're in the upper bracket match, you're like 1 best of 3 away, then it starts getting very real, because then you also think about some of the guys that are actually already going into that bracket phase. And you know how a lot of these guys, I mean, we all love Haas, but they also look at Haas, and a lot of them look at Haas and be like, hey, I'm better than Haas. And if Haas can make it to a final, why can't I make it to a final?
Exactly. I think especially with the upsets that we've been having with the players that have been making it out in these groups, a lot of the players, especially looking to come out in second, are like, wow, if I might get matched up against Shadow, like, this isn't the guy that's supposed to win this tournament.
No, that's someone who's tough in group stage too, but he's not supposed to be a round of 16 matchup, right? Even though all of these guys, they have been improving, but definitely surprising results in group phases so far.
So that Group B with Special and Showtime, like, if the trend continues, our super consistent guys, so Special in round of 4, he's going to be out.
All right, it's time to get into the game. More Terran versus Zerg coming at you. It's time for Kelazhur versus Lambo.
All right. Here we go. Brazil versus Germany. This match is going to be a good one. I am Pig joined with me, like an Archon, is Fear Dragon.
At the hip. That's why we can't be shown on camera anymore, guys.
That's true. The true facts here with the both of us. And we are going to be launching into another Terran versus Zerg. It's going to be Acid Plant map number 1 down here in the bottom right-hand side in the blue, the Terran player. He is Kelazhur.
New team, Panda Global.
Global pandas are the best.
The best kind of pandas. Spawning up here at the top left-hand corner of the map, we have our red Zerg player from Team Clash. It is Lambo. All right.
Couple of fans of In Control out there. We are going to be launching here into this one. It's an interesting map because we heard, Zombie Grub stay there on the desk. Lambo's on a hot streak. He's so good. Can Kelazhur really stop him? And looking at, Lambo's build-ups recently, he's had some fantastic performances, starting with that Austin top 4 one, but I definitely do think back to Valencia and that, crushing defeat in the group stage, which he was very shattered after that. I really think, for me, looking at how he kind of bounces back from that here, it's very telling about his character, Yeah. Does he use that as the fuel to really just push himself to new heights? Is he going to go really far here in Montreal, or is he going to fall off a little bit? I'd love to see him continue this legacy that he's starting to build this year.
I almost actually look at the approach that both of these players are taking as very opposite to each other in exactly that regard. We do have, I think, just hatchery and stuff coming down, so everything's looking pretty normal for the most part, but Kelazhur is that player that is now in school. He's been in school for about 2 weeks. He's actually skipping an exam on Monday in order to attend this event. Guys, game responsibly. But he's kind of the opposite end of where Lambo is, right? Where Lambo is super hard committed to this StarCraft life. He's very upset about his losses, and Kelazhur is kind of that player, like ZvT was alluding to. It's a little bit less pressure. I know in the past he has even said one of the biggest things that he attributes his kind of rise in the last year or two to is the fact that he started putting less pressure on himself and he started just kind of going to the flow more.
Ooh, gets the snipe and survives on just 5 hit points. Nice dive.
2 kills. This is really, really nice Reaper control. I know I was complimenting Uthermal earlier in his series versus Scarlet, but Kelazhur was the other big player that kind of really made his name for himself on Reapers.
Fear the Reaper man. Yeah, he's definitely won a lot of games with that. A lot of players come up as a sort of cheesy player, a very aggressive player. They have this sort of, kind of weird styles. They use, looking for the second snipe. That's too greedy. Does survive though, so doesn't get punished for it, and already just forcing that creep tumor so far back, and it's the second tumor. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, already being very, very annoying. And connecting the natural to the third base for a Zerg player is pretty important. You want to be able to get that done sooner rather than later, because otherwise now the Queens, if they want to try and move forward to even push back the Reaper or just get to the third to protect drones over there, it's a lot harder.
That's a very fast lair, Ravi, and a Roach Horn and a few more gases going down. Do you think it could be a Nidus Worm?
I mean, I'm going to actually answer your question with another question, Big. How do you feel like a Nidus Worm would handle a big armory Hellbat attack?
I mean, this is a free win if you hold it back long enough until they commit with the Hellbats, you defend it, and then you counterattack with the Nidus. And indeed, there it is. Nidus Worm goes down. So Lambo going for a super committed attack. He's going to try and pop a Nidus Worm up in the main base of Kelazhur and just launch a ton of Roaches and Queens in there. This is an all-in maneuver. It needs to do massive damage. And the funny thing is, Kelazhur is actually committing to Hellbats and Banshees. Now, these units, if they're all at home, can maybe defend this, but the problem is it's looking like Kelazhur wants to be the one who's being aggressive, and it looks like just as his units are hitting Lambo is about to pop the Nidus Worm in his main base.
And there it is, and of course Kelazhur realizes that he's retreating back with a handful of units. He sends a few over to the main base. I actually do like that decision, at least to try and get some counter damage, knowing all the units for his opponent, including even the Queens, are likely going to be in the Nidus Worm.
Oh, but the Hellions are going to get in the mineral line. He might be able to wreck the economy.
Oh, Banshee!
No, the Banshee getting out and just shot down by the Queens before it can do anything. The reactor being focused down very quickly. There are Hellbats in the main base, but Lambo microing at home very well. Started stepping away from those Hellbats, and he's taking down a ton of these SCVs. Only a single Cyclone out. There is one bunker there, but there's nothing to put inside it.
Yeah, there's still so many transfuses available here for Lambo. These Queens should not be dying anytime soon. More of these Hellbats get over to the natural expansion. As much as Lambo is doing a lot of damage here to Kelazhur, Kelazhur has also been able to kill off quite a few workers, but Kelazhur's the one losing his production. He's trying to repair up this factory. He's trying to keep it alive long enough for the Cyclone to get out. It takes such a long time, but it is not going to get out. He gets out another Banshee. It does have Cloak, but there's an Overseer here.
He needed that so badly in that bunker. Oh, wow, Lambo's actually going to dive down and try to focus that. The SCVs are there trying to repair. Right now, Kelazhur has the worker lead, but he's got no production, as you pointed out, Ravi. A single Cyclone, a single Hellbat, and the 2 Marines in the bunker, though. They might barely be enough to hang on. I'm not sure. More Roaches spilling out of the Nidus Worm.
All the Roaches that were on the defensive against the Hellbats finally come in for the supporting attack, and Kelazhur falls down to 17 supply. GG, Lambo takes the first game.
That's a good strategic choice there by Lambo, committing to such a powerful attack. Kelazhur's a player known for his aggressive tendencies, and when a Terran's so focused on getting things like Cloaked Banshees, getting those Hellbats, the medevac, none of these were at home. None of them were ready to defend it. Just gets an almost straightforward win, and that's such a great way to start this series. It puts everything on Diego, on Kelazhur. There's fear in him now. He's got to make sure he wins the next game or he loses this series.
Kelazhur is a risk taker, so he's very acclimated to the idea of taking a risk with a build and saying, I'm going to go for this big Hellbat Banshee attack, and if it doesn't pan out, you know, it's okay. Still have game 2 and game 3, but this is still a tough spot to be put in. Of course, he now really needs to try and make this comeback work if he wants to make it out further earlier on in the group, if he wants to make it out in that winner spot. Because again, if you make it out second in your group, Pig, I hate to remind people so often, but that is how you end up versus players like Cyril, like versus Raynor, like versus DNS and Uthermal.
Yeah, you want that first seed. It makes a big difference going through to that round of 16. And, you know, we've seen players who we kind of got hyped up and excited about, and you run into Cyril in the round of 16. It sometimes can be the quick finish to big dreams, but you know, Lambo's starting off well here. He's very focused in this series, and it's interesting because I do think of Kelazhur as a player who runs away with the game if you give him a little bit of room. Lambo very decisively didn't let him get into his element, didn't let him play his game, and he just kind of starts up with a very quick win there.
Yeah, and of course, again, it's calculated risk there. Lambo going to be, like you said, in a very, very nice spot. But do you imagine that Lambo's going to try something tricky again? Do you think that that's something he's doing playstyle-wise or characteristically versus his opponent? Or is it just a nice kind of mix-in for a general TVZ or ZvT?
I think it's a great mix-in, as you say, Fear Dragon. You know, Lambo here as a sort of player who really does believe in his own abilities. I do not think he's going to cheese another game in a best of 3 unless he thinks like this is just an absolute blind spot my opponent has. It's a guaranteed win. So I definitely think we're going to see some Hydraling Bane. We're going to see lots of creep spread, lots of bases, you know, that real stock standard solid Zerg versus Terran from Lambo.
All right, we'll see what Kelazhur decides to throw out as well. Because again, he is the kind of player that I think is fearless enough to try and do another all-in. Even after the first one fails, he says, you know what, that first game, a little bit unfortunate. My opponent had a different build that kind of he was doing blindly and went for, worked out well. But let's see what this man down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map decides to do. He's spawning as the blue Terran. He is Kelazhur and a global.
Facing off against him up here in the top right-hand side of the map, representing Clash, he is Lambo.
Coming in off a victory versus Time earlier on in his group. Got a 2-1 versus Time. So this is a second TVZ that he's playing right now, and he's already looking really, really solid. We'll see how things are going to pan out. How are you feeling about Cerulean Fall?
You know, this is a cool map. We've seen a couple of games on this so far. I've been playing it on the ladder. It's definitely, I guess, the newer macro map in the pool, up there with Parasite. It's got a lot of cliffs on it, a lot of ledges. I really don't have a strong handle on the most important strategic points, but as we can see, there's lots of cliffs. There's a few bits of tall grass. And we saw, I think, Uthermal use the terrain very effectively against Scarlet earlier. So I definitely think there's always a lot that we learn with every Zerg versus Terran match, especially because this is the match where the Terran kind of wants to set up an almost sieging, leapfrogging push, spreading that creep backwards, kind of clearing an avenue to get into the Zerg territory. Interestingly enough, Lambo did open up with that 16 hatchery, which a lot of players are favoring these days, trying to get their creep spread, their queens out just as fast as they possibly can. But Kelazhur, you know, he had that nice start to the last game of the Reaper, and it's just so weird because I feel like that happens so much with him. Like, it's so rare you get the first creep tumor sniped at this level, but Kelazhur always finds these little edges. That's where he gains an advantage, and it's kind of why I think a lot of players are tempted to throw out a Nidus Worm or something, because they kind of want to take a bit of the momentum away, because otherwise he is a player who builds a little edge just off these small micro maneuvers, and he gets a bit of momentum and he can run away with the game. He's always going to micro every unit to the last moment.
Oh, absolutely. Kelazhur is very much about that micros. We already see starting to whittle away at some of these lings. The queens are about to pop, and that should be enough to start pushing that Reaper a lot further back. Kelazhur sneaks away with one Zergling kill, but the third base is already down for Lambo, so can't really deny that for too long.
That was really good patience there by Lambo on that creep tumor. He saw the Reaper with the Overlord and he said, look, I know you're looking for that snipe. I'm just going to wait. Threw a needle at the Reaper and it had to pull back and then drop the creep tumor. So this time around, you can see Lambo getting a much quicker start on that creep spread towards the very quick third base. Note his ling speed is slightly delayed. He always makes sure he puts down the third base before ling speed so that it can't get blocked by the Reaper.
Yeah, and unlike the last map, we're going to end up in a situation where Creep Spread is going to be able to get all the way over there, but okay, well, this is a little bit different. We have not one, but two starports on the way right now, Pig.
Wow, I guess it's got to be Speed Banshees. I hope it's Speed Banshees into mech. That would be so cool to see here. Yeah, I mean, swapping one onto a tech lab there. The other starport in the back of the base is hidden for now. I think a Viking might come out first. No, straight into Banshee. Okay. So just going to rely on that single Marine to shoo away any Overlords. And fair enough, there's no Overlord speed. No lair started, so no Overseer going to be coming in either.
Reaper trying to make a run for the main base. He's going to be able to get a beautiful scout out and see, okay, what do you got over here? Don't really see too much going on. Don't see a lair or anything. And I think he's going to feel okay about that.
Ooh, a lot of lings just popped out. Bad timing for Kelazhur to be trying to dive in here. He found a little bit of an opening, but the lings popped out at the perfect time. And no matter how well they wriggle, a couple of those Hellions will end up falling. The Reaper, though, in the main, getting a few worker kills at the same time.
This is actually absurd. This Reaper has 5 kills, and it's still kicking for a little bit.
Yeah, the Banshee production has started up back at home. Cloak on the way. And that second starport is a tech lab as well. So I definitely think it's going to be just a very harassment-focused mech opening. Lair and Baneling Nest has started up for Lambo, but he does not have the information about his opponent's style. And there's more Hellions, there's more Banshees building 2 at a time now. There's going to be some really, really crazy waves of aggression.
When do you feel like you move in with the Banshees, Pig?
It's so hard. I think you got to go just with 2, right? And then bring the others soon behind it. You got to try to really dodge the Overlords, and that's the scary bit. I think you want to hit as soon as Cloak's ready. The thing is, if you show 3, it's almost like, well, you kind of give it away then.
Yeah.
Do you just wait for 5? Like, I feel like do you either go with 2 or you go with 4 or more than that? I don't think you go with just 3.
It's also interesting because there's good creep spread out for Lambo, but there really aren't many Overlords positioned around the map. So it's not like the Banshee's going to get immediately spotted. And there's a nice little area over to the right where you can pretty much surprise Lambo with whatever number of Banshees he moves out with, but there it is, hyper flight rotors.
Oh yeah.
Being research here for Kelazhur, those Banshees are going to be zipping and flying around faster than Overseer can catch them.
Banshee speed, one of the favorite upgrades, one of the lesser seen upgrades in the game. These Hellions creating a lot of threat, a lot of distraction, and these 2 Banshees flying into the main base. There is a Spore Crawler, but the Spore Crawler and a Queen can't defend everything. A couple of drones going to go down immediately.
Yeah, only 2 drones going down so far. These Banshees really not finding as much damage as they wanted, but now 3 Banshees, they can start contesting individual Queens that try and fight it. The Hellions still looking for opportunity, but so many Queens still at that third. It really does leave the main base a little bit more wanting for defenses.
Oh, these Hellions, they keep darting in, luring the Lingbane forward, but one Banshee does fall. Those 2 going to pull back. There's more Banshees coming. Banshee speed only about halfway down. Kelazhur, though, with an uncharacteristic mistake, almost loses another Banshee, and now it is heavily, heavily bruised. He wants to be able to overwhelm these Queens. He's going to go for the high energy one, but extra Queens coming at the last second. And Kelazhur's aggression has been stopped in its tracks. Lambo has a 4th base on the way. Hydra's in production, 71 workers. He has stopped all of it with very few losses, and Diego's production is massively delayed. He's only now adding more barracks and transitioning into bio behind this.
Kelazhur is in a brutally, it feels like, desperate spot as his double engineering bays, of course, are going to be coming out a bit on the later side, but there are double Evos only just now coming down here for Lambo. But Stim and combat shields, everything comes out so much later because you have to invest so much to get up that number of Banshees and to get up hyper flight rotors.
Yeah, things have been looking really, you know, I felt like it almost could have gone out of control there. That 4th Banshee was just a little bit too slow. The Queens were very well microed. The transfuses were there. And these Hellions really didn't find the damage they would have wanted. Even if that first Hellion dive had got 4 or 5 drones, it would have put a dent in the economy. But now Lambo has got double upgrades on the way. He's got Overlord speed. Creep is spreading all over. And whilst this force is somewhat threatening, it's not the same as it would have been a few minutes before the Hydras were out.
Okay, well, that number of Banshees going into a base can get some really nice pickoffs. If the Hydras are slightly out of position, he starts losing one or two of them. The Overseer, a little bit late to the party. Kelazhur darts to the south and is able to find just small little pickings. The idea here is he needs to keep these Banshees alive because this is what's allowing him to do any form of counter harassment or any form of damage to his opponents.
And it's these little things adding up, which is what gives this style some longevity, right? You're always going to be able to find that. The real fear is the fact that, yeah, you just picked off 7 workers. Lambo was already at 80. He's still got 72 behind it. He's got that big Hydra Bane army building up. His upgrades are pressing forwards, and the supply count is very fearsome. Right now, we've got Stim almost finished. We've got the Marine production starting to pick up for Kelazhur, but it's not quite ready just yet.
Well, Baneling run by, trying to snag a few of those workers. Kelazhur is quick to react, doesn't really lose too much, but the Hellions taking a lot of damage to those Hydras. The Banshees not really going to be able to help out too much in that fight, as there is an Overseer around. And Kelazhur in a bit of a rough spot here. I believe that he did finish up Stim.
Yeah, he's got 1 siege tank out now as well, which is going to anchor that position. Lambo hasn't really gone too crazy on the drones, but there we go. Hive is on the way now as well. And of course is waiting for these upgrades and potentially some more Banelings before thinking about assaulting the Terran position.
Yeah, Lambo's doing a really nice dance of just trying to get up all of his tech and everything, but still being a bit threatening here for Kelazhur. He's going to find the command center being built and does get a cancel off on that. Retreats back. Remember, these Marines do not have combat shields right now, so they're going to die very quickly to these Hydras.
Oh, the siege tank is exposed. Hellions coming back, trying to defend. The Banshees are on the other side of the map. They're not here to help out. This has turned out to be a very powerful assault from Lambo. The SCVs are pulled away, but those Banelings, they want to get onto those SCVs. And those SCVs are completely undefended. The Banelings are going for them. And that's it. All of them blasted to pieces.
Lambo gonna be able to take a solid 2-0 victory there. I mean, I saw the desperation at the end from Kelazhur. He's trying to snipe off the Overseer so the Banshees can help out the defense, but Lambo just having none of it. Perfect control on that Overseer. Locks down that placement into the playoffs.
Very decisive play there. Definitely had a finger on his opponent throughout that game and took it very decisively. I love the choice there to go for the wild 2-port Banshee play, but sometimes you get in there, the defense is just right, you can't get that momentum going, and that was the case this game. It's always a bit of a gamble if you want to go for that sort of aggression. Sometimes it works out, sometimes the Zerg is just on top of it. They've got the creep spread out, they've got the Queens and Spores in position, and that was Lambo this game. He was in control of that game and all over it. I'd love to hear his thoughts, though, on that series. Smix, take it away.
Thank you very much, Jared. Congratulations, Lambo. You're moving on to the playoffs, getting first place in your group here. You had 2 ZvTs, and at least from what we saw in this Kelazhur series, you were playing incredibly solid today. So overall, were you confident in your ZvT to carry you through to the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident in my ZvT in general to beat every foreign Terran. I think besides Special, I think I'm favored against most Terrans. So, and U-Thermal. U-Thermal and Special are the 2 that are really good in TVZ, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty confident.
And what was your mindset like coming into this event? Because after the great finish at Austin where you got top 4, I know Valencia was a disappointing finish for you with the group stage 2 exit, so it must have affected your mindset coming in here.
Yeah, I mean, Valencia was really bad for me. I had, but everything besides that, like Home Store Cup was really good, Challenger was really good. So I had no reason not to be confident, and Valencia was really bad, especially for my BlizzCon chances, but as long as I get round of 4, I think I have pretty good chances. So that's my goal, and I'm actually pretty confident that I have good chances for that.
Exactly, and I know you just said other than Valencia, everything else has been going well with you. So talk about your other matchups overall. How has your practice been going? Do you feel confident against the other players that are here? Is there anyone that you're looking out for?
I'm pretty confident against everyone besides Cyril. I mean, I kind of know how everyone plays pretty much besides the guys that are practicing in Korea, so I would love to avoid those as well, but yeah, I'm super confident actually at pretty much every matchup right now. ZvZ not so much, but I have very good mind games and I'm very good at planning series, and now I'm already out to the best of 5 part of the tournament, which I think I'm very good in too, so yeah, feeling good.
Awesome, it's great to hear your confidence. We'll see how it plays out for you in the playoffs, but for tonight, congratulations. You can rest easy for tonight, and let's head back to the desk as we get prepared for one last match of the day.
Thank you very much, Smix, and congratulations to Lambo with a dominant performance there. 2-0 against Kelazhur, bringing out the Noidus, and then dealing with those Banshees. No problemo. Zombie Girl Brady just destroying.
Yeah, that was... I mean, we talked a little bit about Kelazhur, maybe kind of gave him some more credit just by like talking so much about him, but I think we both expected Lambo to do particularly well. He is a very good player right now. Kelazhur is only part-time. I mean, the 2-0, bit of a slap, with cheese there, but not expected.
All I saw was Queens. Queens offensively, Queens defensively. Queens are really holding their own in that series, Nate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really in Fall's game. The Banshee defense, pretty spectacular. Getting the Hydras, I mean, that speed upgrade takes a while to get. But, well, great play there. Roddy, you've been showing me you got some cool stuff going on over here.
Let's go ahead and jump into my laptop real quick if we could. We've got a massive fight here. Time, the Chinese Terran player is up 1-0 over Namchar, but he just made a push that was supposed to do a lot of damage, but Namchar shut that down. So our Swedish Zerg is keeping his tournament hopes and dreams alive, as I think things are looking a lot better for him here in game number 2. First game was on Parasite, a 20-minute game of pure mech action. Nate, a game to your heart, I'm sure of it. 8 factories, lots of tours.
My
tanks.
man.
Yeah, he played it very well. So Time really has impressed me already today. This is a much better Time than I saw in WCS the last 2 times. I'm happy to see the old Time again, the Time that I was really starting to become a fan of, even though he's obviously in trouble here, and this will most likely go to a deciding series, but it's been a good one so far.
Nice, awesome to see. So you see Namshar does even up that series. We have, did you have a game that you wanted to show us, Zombie Grub?
I did not. I have results, though.
Okay.
That I definitely want to talk
There's
about.
some weird ones.
Yes, there are. So the game that I was watching was Hut versus Clem, which Hut ended up taking 2-1.
Yes.
Clem is not going to advance on. So he's out
I know.
4th in his group. Jon Snow is, I think, going to be facing Hut next. So, and that actually, I'm not sure how that's going to go. Hosted make out of his group, advance on, which like makes his BlizzCon hopes, I
Okay.
feel like.
Yeah, it has
sure.
his like almost locked in at this
Yeah,
point. Like that can't go wrong anymore.
Yeah.
Just won his group again, Nate.
Damn.
And a laser goes out 3rd in his group. Xanster is the one that advances on. So we're getting this trend of
Guys.
the old standards actually getting
So
bumped
sick.
out.
That is a really shocking surprise
It
to
is.
me, because Elise has been looking so much better again lately. Like, I cast the Clash Invitational every week. He's 6-0 in that tournament. He's just destroying everyone left and right. 18-5 in maps, I believe. He's just looking good, Nate. He was obviously on fire. You're talking about a player that has made it not just to the global finals for the last 2 years in a row. He was not the only one to win a WCS top besides Neeb, but he makes it into the playoffs of the global finals 2 years in a row. 2 times semi-finals 1 year, quarterfinals last year, or the other way around. Damn, I'm really shocked. Like, most likely, guys, unless a miracle happens, Elaser is not going to make it to BlizzCon this year, because he was 8 coming into this tournament. Well, Nate, someone is going to get some points, and I have a very bad feeling for it.
Yeah, considering that is insane. We've
It
had some crazy results. Our next match to finish things off tonight here for day 1 of WCS Montreal is going to be special.
Oh.
Versus, I believe it's Showtime.
Showtime.
So that's going to be a Terran versus Protoss. That's right. You guys finally get to watch something other than Zerg players. We've got that coming up after the break. You're watching the World Championship Series. We'll be right back.